In the bustling streets of Ikegun Market, a beggar named Hassan sat at his usual spot near the grand arched entrance. The market was alive with the sounds of haggling traders, clinking wares, and the chatter of buyers. Hassan, dressed in rags and feigning blindness, sat cross-legged on a faded mat, holding a battered tin plate that jingled with coins and occasional banknotes. To the unsuspecting market-goers, Hassan was just another pitiable beggar, forgotten by society and struggling to survive. But Hassan harbored a secret darker than anyone could imagine. Every coin dropped into his plate carried more than its monetary value. It carried the giver's destiny. Years ago, Hassan had been just like any other man in the bustling town of Amaru, filled with dreams of prosperity and a burning desire to rise above his modest beginnings. He was a trader, a husband, and a father, but his efforts never seemed to yield the success he envisioned. Day after day, Hassan watched others thrive while his ventures faltered. The weight of his unfulfilled dreams gnawed at his spirit, and bitterness began to replace his hope. One evening, after a particularly harsh day of rejection and mounting debts, Hassan found himself wandering aimlessly through the outskirts of town. His feet led him to an old, desolate path, whispered about in fearful tones, a path that led to Mallam Okoro, the enigmatic witch doctor. Mallam Okoro was a name spoken with both reverence and dread. Stories of his potent charms, which could bend fate itself, were well known, but so too were the terrifying consequences for those who failed to heed his warnings. Desperation drove Hassan to seek him out. When he arrived at the witch doctor's hut, a small, smoke-filled structure adorned with animal skulls, feathers, and jars of unidentifiable contents, his heart pounded with a mix of fear and anticipation. Mallam Okoro sat cross-legged on the floor, his piercing eyes seeming to see into Hassan's very soul. "What is it you desire?" Mallam Okoro's voice was deep and resonant, carrying an otherworldly weight. "I want wealth," Hassan said, his voice trembling. "I'm tired of struggling. I want to be rich, richer than anyone in this town." Mallam Okoro studied him in silence for a moment, then smiled, a slow, chilling smile that sent shivers down Hassan's spine. "Wealth, you say? I can give you wealth beyond your wildest dreams. You will live in splendor, and the world will envy you. But it will come at a cost." Hassan leaned forward eagerly. "Anything. I'll pay any price." Mallam Okoro's smile widened, and he gestured to a small pouch filled with strange, glittering dust. "This charm will turn your life around, but you must follow my instructions to the letter. You will become a beggar, cloaked in rags and feigning blindness. You will collect money from the hands of others. But know this, every coin, every note they drop into your plate will carry more than its monetary value. It will carry their destinies." Hassan's brow furrowed in confusion. Destinies. Their fortune, their luck, their very essence of success will become yours. Mallam Okoro explained, his voice low and ominous. "But there is one condition. No one connected to you, neither by blood nor by marriage, must ever see you begging. If they do, the spell will break, and all that you have gained will be lost. Worse, it will turn on you." Hassan hesitated for a moment, the gravity of the condition settling in his mind. But the promise of wealth, of a life free from struggle, was too tempting to resist. He agreed, sealing his fate with a handshake that felt colder than the night air. From that moment on, Hassan's life took a drastic turn. By day, he was a beggar, crouched in rags at the gates of Ikegun Market, collecting coins and siphoning the destinies of the unsuspecting. By night, he was a wealthy man, his bank account swelling and his life of luxury unfolding far away from the eyes of those who might recognize him. But Mallam Okoro's warning echoed in the back of his mind, a chilling reminder that his newfound prosperity came with a fragile and dangerous condition. Little did Hassan know how quickly greed and deception would draw him to the edge of ruin. His mansion buzzed with life as the grand dining room became a stage for elegance and wealth. The long mahogany table gleamed under the golden light of the crystal chandelier, its surface adorned with exquisite china, polished silverware, and crystal glasses that caught the glow like tiny stars. Guests, dressed in their finest outfits, filled the room with animated laughter and cheerful toasts, their admiration for their hosts evident in every glance. At the head of the table stood Hassan, his tailored black suit fitting him like a second skin. His smooth ebony skin glowed in the warm light, and his charming smile disarmed even the most skeptical of his guests. Yet, in the depth of his wide eyes, a flicker of unease betrayed the weight of his secret. Across the room, Zainab, his wife, radiated grace in her vibrant Ankara gown, moving effortlessly among the guests, her laughter as soft as the music playing in the background. The air was filled with the clinking of glasses, the rich aroma of exotic dishes, and the hum of affluent conversations. Waitstaff weaved through the room, refilling drinks and presenting dishes that sparkled under the chandelier. But amid the grandeur, Hassan's gaze lingered on the shimmering glasses, the bright laughter of his guests, and the golden glow of his opulent surroundings. For a brief moment, he felt the shadow of his other life creep into the room, the blind beggar at Ikegun Market, clutching a battered tin plate, siphoning the destinies of strangers. It was not the first time whispers of misfortune rippled through the vibrant stalls of Ikegun Market, carried on the murmurs of traders and buyers alike. The market, a bustling hub of color and activity, held stories as lively as its wares. But lately, the tales had turned dark. Bola, the once cheerful seamstress, known for her vibrant Ankara designs and quick wit, had become a shadow of her former self. Not long ago, she had dropped her last N200, a token of her generous spirit, into the plate of the blind beggar who sat at the market's entrance. Now, Bola wandered the streets aimlessly, her eyes vacant, muttering incoherent words as she clutched at scraps of fabric, her once thriving shop, reduced to a collection of shattered windows and forgotten dreams. Her neighbors, who had once admired her tenacity, now whispered of her downfall with pity and fear. Then there was Chinedu, a trader whose name had once been synonymous with success. He had been a fixture in the market, known for his sharp business acumen and his knack for always stocking the best goods. But after pausing one fateful afternoon to drop a few crumpled bills into the same battered tin plate, Chinedu's life unraveled in ways he could never have imagined. His goods, an entire shipment of valuable textiles, vanished mysteriously en route to the market. Rumors of sabotage spread, but no culprit was ever found. The loss was devastating, wiping out his savings and plunging him into debt. His family, once his pride and anchor, could no longer bear the weight of his failures and left him one by one. Now, Chinedu sat on the same dusty ground where he had once conducted brisk trade, his outstretched hand mirroring the beggar he had once pitied. The market, once alive with chatter, laughter, and the rhythmic call of traders, now seemed to carry an undercurrent of unease. Those who had given to Hassan's plate spoke in hushed tones, nervously recounting tales of their own misfortunes or warning others to stay away. Yet, despite the growing fear and unease, few could resist the magnetic pull of the beggar's tin plate. After all, charity was a virtue, or so they thought. Little did they know that every coin, every folded bill, carried a far greater cost than they could have ever anticipated. Hassan, meanwhile, reveled in the secret wealth he had amassed, a fortune that grew with every coin that clinked into his battered tin plate. Each piece of currency was more than just money. It was a destiny absorbed, a transfer of fortune, vitality, and success from the unsuspecting giver to himself. The beggar's guise, complete with tattered clothes and dark glasses, was merely a mask for a man whose true life existed far beyond the dusty ground of Ikegun Market. By night, Hassan transformed. Gone were the rags and grime. In their place, tailored suits, polished shoes, and the aura of a man who had it all. He would drive away from the market in an unassuming vehicle, blending into the crowd until he reached the gates of his sprawling mansion in a neighboring city. The property was the epitome of opulence, with marble floors, high ceilings, and sparkling chandeliers that glinted like the coins that had built his empire. Inside, his wife Zainab greeted him warmly. She was a woman of grace and charm, dressed in vibrant Ankara gowns that complemented her radiant smile and smooth ebony skin. Zainab adored her husband, believing him to be a prosperous businessman whose frequent business trips were essential to their family's success. To her, Hassan was a hard-working provider who had built a life of luxury for their family through his relentless effort and ambition. Their two children, Fatima and Ibrahim, ran to meet him whenever he returned, their laughter filling the grand hall of the mansion. Fatima, the elder of the two, was a bright and inquisitive girl, always eager to share her schoolwork and stories from the day. Ibrahim, her younger brother, was a bundle of energy, clutching toys in his small hands and begging for his father's attention. Hassan would lift them into his arms, their innocent joy a stark contrast to the dark means by which he had secured their future. To Zainab and the children, Hassan was the epitome of success, a man who worked tirelessly to ensure their comfort. Little did they know, the wealth they enjoyed came at an unspeakable cost. As Hassan settled into his plush armchair, sipping fine wine and surveying the grandeur of his surroundings, a fleeting shadow of unease would cross his face, a reminder of the ominous pact that had brought him here. For all his riches, his life was built on deception, and the weight of his hidden sins lingered in the quiet moments of his fabricated existence. The only rule binding Hassan's secret life was Mallam Okoro's dire warning. No one connected to you by blood or marriage must ever see you begging, or the curse will devour you. The words haunted him in the quiet moments, like the faint echo of a distant drumbeat. Yet, those words were the foundation of the dangerous facade he had constructed. They dictated the boundaries of his double life, a delicate dance between wealth and ruin. Hassan adhered to the warning with unwavering caution at first, ensuring that his begging spots were far from the prying eyes of his wife, Zainab, or anyone from his city. He memorized the habits of traders and travelers, strategically positioning himself in places where the likelihood of recognition was slim. The tattered clothes, the dark glasses, and the tin plate became his armor, concealing his true identity. But wealth has a way of corrupting even the most disciplined, and Hassan's greed grew insatiable. With every coin that clinked into his plate, every folded bill that vanished into his grasp, his hunger for more intensified. The curse had elevated him beyond his wildest dreams, and the comfort of his mansion, the adoration of his wife, and the laughter of his children became intoxicating reminders of what his deceit had achieved. Over time, Hassan's hubris began to blind him to the fragility of his charade. He started pushing the boundaries of caution. If one market brought him wealth, why not try another closer to the edge of familiar territories? If one city's coins fed his riches, why not expand? Each calculated risk seemed to yield rewards, reinforcing his belief that he had mastered the curse. The once constant echoes of Mallam Okoro's warning began to fade beneath the roar of his newfound confidence. Hassan rationalized his actions, telling himself that no one would ever stumble upon his secret. The world was too vast, and his disguise was too perfect. He ignored the small signs, the lingering stares of curious passers-by who thought they recognized him, the whispers that sometimes floated through the market air, hinting at something amiss. And so, the invisible line that separated his two worlds grew thinner with every decision. His greed and arrogance pushed him closer to the edge of ruin, even as his riches multiplied. But the consequence, ever patient, waited in the shadows, biding its time, ready to remind Hassan that no pact with darkness comes without a cost. One sunny morning, the warm rays of the sun filtered through the large windows of Zainab's luxurious kitchen. The aroma of freshly brewed tea lingered in the air, as she contemplated her plans for the day. Her maids hovered nearby, offering suggestions, but Zainab waved them off. She had made up her mind. Today, she would visit the famed Ikegun Market. The stories of its vibrant stalls, rare seasonings, and exotic spices had intrigued her for weeks. She had heard from friends that only the freshest ingredients could be found there, and she wanted to see it for herself. Despite the protests of her maid, who warned her about the bustling chaos and the heat, Zainab stood firm. "I'll go myself," she said with a confident smile. "I want to handpick the finest for our meals." She instructed her driver to prepare the car, donning a vibrant Ankara gown adorned with intricate gold and red patterns that flowed elegantly as she moved. Her golden earrings and matching bracelet glinted in the sunlight, complementing her graceful demeanor. With her head wrap tied perfectly, she stepped into the car, her resolve unwavering. As the car approached the gates of Ikegun Market, the scene unfolded like a colorful tapestry. The market was alive with energy. Traders shouted over one another to advertise their goods. Stalls overflowed with fresh produce, and the mingling scents of spices, ripe fruits, and roasted peanuts filled the air. Women balanced baskets on their heads with practiced ease, while children darted through the crowd, their laughter adding rhythm to the chaos. Zainab's eyes scanned the bustling scene with curiosity and excitement. She leaned slightly out of the window, marveling at the spectacle. Suddenly, her gaze froze. Near the wide market gate, a figure seated on the dusty ground caught her attention. Her heart skipped a beat as a flicker of recognition stirred deep within her. Squinting, she leaned forward, her perfectly manicured fingers gripping the edge of the window. The figure was hunched, dressed in tattered clothes, and wore dark glasses that obscured his eyes. A battered tin plate rested in front of him, glinting faintly in the sunlight. Zainab's breath hitched. The familiarity of the figure sent a chill through her. Her mind raced as the car slowed near the market entrance. Could it be? Her thoughts swirled as she stared intently, her heart pounding with growing unease. "Stop the car," she commanded abruptly, her voice sharper than she intended. The driver glanced at her in confusion but obeyed, pulling over just a few meters from the market gate. The vibrant sounds of the market faded into the background as Zainab stepped out, her gaze fixed unwaveringly on the figure. Each step she took toward the man seemed to magnify her dread, a deep, gnawing suspicion clawing at her chest. "It can't be," she whispered to herself. Yet the familiarity was undeniable. As she approached, the truth would soon unravel in ways she could never have anticipated. Hassan, lost in the rhythm of his routine, clinked his battered tin plate with practiced ease. His lips moved in a soft mutter, the same incoherent words he always used to complete the act. Feigning blindness, he tilted his head upward, his dark glasses obscuring his sharp eyes. It was just another day, until it wasn't. An inexplicable chill ran down his spine, and something made him look up. For a brief moment, his heart stopped. There she was, Zainab. Her poised, elegant figure stood frozen in the crowd, her wide eyes locked onto him with an expression that made his stomach churn. "Hassan?" Her voice cracked like a whip, cutting through the market's bustling noise. Heads turned instantly, traders and buyers pausing mid-conversation to locate the source of the commotion. Panic surged through Hassan. His mind raced for an escape. Deny, pretend, anything but confront the truth. He slumped deeper into his disguise, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted his tin plate. But it was too late. Zainab's steps quickened, her face a storm of emotions, confusion, anger, and horrified realization. "Hassan!" she screamed, clutching the edge of her scarf as though it would steady her. What is this?" The crowd, sensing drama, began to close in, their murmurs swelling like a tide. "Hassan? What's going on?" "That's her husband." The whispers carried a mix of shock, curiosity, and growing judgment. Hassan's instincts screamed at him to run, but his legs felt like lead. Slowly, he scrambled to his feet, his tattered clothes and dirt-streaked face, now a prison he couldn't escape. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words tumbled out weakly. "Zainab, I can explain." "Explain?" she interrupted, her voice rising with fury. "Explain why my husband is here, in rags, pretending to be blind. Explain this lie." Her voice cracked with disbelief and rage, sending a ripple of unease through the crowd. The murmurs grew louder, sharper. "He's been deceiving everyone," someone shouted. "Lying to us all along," another added, their tone laced with accusation. The weight of the moment crashed down on Hassan. Years of carefully constructed deceit crumbled in an instant, and the life he had built teetered on the edge of ruin. As the crowd's energy shifted from curiosity to anger, Hassan could feel the fragile walls of his double life closing in around him. As Zainab turned to leave, her driver hurriedly following her, Hassan felt a strange sensation wash over him. It started in his chest, a sharp, unbearable pain. His hands trembled violently, and his knees buckled. He fell to the ground, clutching his head, as an eerie silence fell over the crowd. The coins in his plate began to rattle, their metallic clinks growing louder, almost deafening. To the onlookers' horror, the coins dissolved into black smoke, swirling around Hassan like a living thing. His screams echoed through the market as his body convulsed. At the same time, Zainab's car screeched to a halt outside their mansion. But the grand house and luxurious cars were gone, replaced by an overgrown lot and ruins. Zainab staggered out of the car, clutching her chest, her children wailing in confusion. "Mama, where's our home?" Fatima cried. Zainab could only stare at the barren land, her knees giving way as she collapsed in despair. Back at the market, Hassan's screams subsided. His body lay motionless, his face sunken and hollow. When the smoke cleared, only a shriveled husk remained. The market-goers whispered in terror, scattering as rumors of a curse began to spread. Some claimed they saw Mallam Okoro's shadow lingering near Hassan's remains, shaking his head in silent judgment before vanishing into thin air. Zainab and her children were left to rebuild their lives, moving back to her father's modest home in the village. The story of the blind beggar of Ikegun Market became a cautionary tale told in hushed tones across the region. They say Hassan's spirit still haunts the market gate, cursed to beg for eternity, but no one dares drop a coin in his tin plate. Moral of this story is, greed and deceit may bring temporary gain, but they are always punished in the end. True wealth lies in honesty and hard work.